This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so mainly I use uh, just want to set up a clear expectation with you guys. I mostly use Photo 3 to automate the task. I never use Photo 3 to build an infrastructure. So the main purpose for me to use a Photo 3 is along with the Lambda to automate the task. For example, I used in the past, for example, one of the example which I'm going to show you in today's demo is the first Photo 3 script that I have wrote. And in that, I need to stop all of my dev instances after 6 p.m. and bring it up back next day on 9 a.m. Same way, I'm using it for like example, AMI cleaner, like to clean up all the AMIs which are not in use, to clean up all the snapshots. Earlier, we used also take it to take a snapshot, but now Amazon provides a service called, I think, some snapshot service through which you can take a snapshot of your EBS volume. So that is just a gist of like how I was using Boto 3. But let's get started. So what exactly is a Boto 3? It's a Python SDK. Okay. And sorry guys, before I go further, I just want to like in next 1 hour or 1.1 hour 15 minutes we need to cover a lot of things. So if you guys think you already have a knowledge about a basic of photography, I can skip that part. Or if you guys think I just need to go through like some of the basic part of like exactly how photography works, I can go from there also. So it's completely up
Yes,
to you
please
guys.
start with the basics.
Okay, let me start with the basics. Okay, so we have like I was telling you guys, Photo 3 is a Python SDK. So what exactly that it means? So let me go to this AWS console. Okay. And the way you work on the AWS console or the way I mostly use the AWS console is login by my username and a password, which is not working. Let me try one time. Okay. You first go to the AWS console. Okay. And somehow you will get this screen. And after that, depending upon the type of a service you want to access, you type, for example, I want to access IAM. Okay. I go to the IAM console and let's say I need to find it out the users. So I click on the user tab and then I inside that particular service, like let's say in the case of IAM, I click on that user tab and then that way I will access that particular service. So the whole thing which we are doing it manually, the same process we can repeat or we can automate it with the help of a photo. That is the main reason behind what is the use of a photo. Okay. And let me show you how we can do that. Okay. So for doing that, let me come here. Okay. Control D. So let me open this Python 3 console. Okay. And obviously the first thing we need to do is to import Botox. And if you do not have a Boto 3 installed in your system, it's pretty straightforward to install. You just need to run pip install Boto 3. Pip is, if you guys don't know, is a Python package indexer, which is been used to pull out all the Python packages from PPy website or the repo. Okay. So first thing we need to do is import Boto 3. Okay. The second thing which we need to do is to establish a session. So if you look at the first place here, we establish a session with the AWS Management Console. With the establishment of a session means I used to type my username and a password. And with the help of a username and a password, AWS authenticates me and tell me that, okay, this user have access, like this is a console which has been created for me. This is my AWS UI. So for that, I'm going to create a session. Let's say it's the management console. Okay. And the syntax for doing that is AWS Photo 3 session dot session, and let's start the default session. Okay. Now I have created a session, and the session is the first part where I specify the username and a password. But in the case of a Boto 3 or any of the SDK or any of the automation you are doing, you cannot specify a username or a password. And honestly, it's a bad practice if you are specifying a username and a password. So the way we used to do it is use the access key as well as the secret access key. And to configure those AWS access keys and a secret access key, you need to use a command called AWS Configure. And any of you guys, if you are not aware of the AWS access key or secret access key, let me show you. If you go to the IAM, click on this users, and if you try to add a user, let me say I'm adding a test user. At this point of time, you have an option either to go with the programmatic access, where it is going to give you the access key or secret access key. So let me click here. Next, permission. Here you are going to specify what this user have a permission. And most of the cases I'm showing you just for the purpose of a demo. But most of the cases we used to use a role, which is another different concept for IAM, which contacts the STS service, which is a simple token service, and it will generate all these access keys as a secret access key for you on a periodic basis, rather than we are going to hard code this value. So here you are going to specify a policy. So let's say for this user, I only want EC2 access. So I can only give him a EC2 access depending upon like what exactly this user is going to do, full access or the read-only access. So let me give this guy a full access. Next tag, next review. And when you are going to create this user, AWS only one time going to give you this access key as well as the secret access key. Okay. And this either you can export it on your on the console, or you can use this AWS configure command. And at that point of time, you can specify those access keys, the secret access key, the region. As you guys already know that AWS services are most of the AWS services are regional. So we need to specify a region. So in this case, I'm working on the US Oregon region, which is the US West 2. And then the default output of the command. So the format of most of the output is either JSON, which is the default one. There's something called text, and there's a table. So I will show you how these things work. So for a time being, I'm going with the JSON. Okay. So now in this case, where I haven't specified anything here, it is going to take this default session. And the place where this is getting stored is something called, there are two files. One is called config, and there is one more file which I'm not going to show you guys because that is where my credentials get stored. Is where the default session will be created for you. Okay. I know anyone who is doing this first time, it is so much for you to grab. So any questions so far? Wait for you guys. Somebody needs me to mute his microphone.
This activity is first time on the initial step only, or we have to do each time whenever we are going to use Botox?
So is Mayuresh or yeah. So the thing is like
Yes,
it
yes.
depends. Okay. So it depends from where you are executing your script. So if you are executing your script from your same laptop or a desktop, yes, this is only one time. But most of the time we used to execute, at least I can say in my case, I'm executing most of my Boto script using a Lambda. So in Lambda, if we have time, I will show you, or I'm trying to take a separate session just for Lambda itself, where I'm going to show you how to use Boto 3 along with the Lambda. Okay. So if we have time, I will show you how to use that. Okay. So we established this session. Okay. So we established this session,
Question.
and once again, yeah.
We need Python background or no need? in order to use the Boto3 and in real world?
So Satya, your voice is kind of cutting, so I didn't get your question.
We need Python knowledge, compulsory, mandatory in order to use Boto3.
Yes. This is just one module on the top of a Python, so you must need to know Python to use Boto3. Any other question before I move further? Okay. So what we have done so far, we have created a session. Okay. This guy, and sorry, I'm speaking like a broken band, but this is what we have done so far. We have logged into the AWS console. So here, with the help of this, we have logged into the AWS console. Okay. Now let me go back to the, because this is like cracking the coding interview session or the DevOps interview session. Let me go to my first question. Okay. So in case of Boto3, let me go back again here. I can put some question here. 1 second, guys. Yeah, I think the basic Python is fine. I haven't used any major concept in using Boto3, but some of the modules which I'm going to show you, for example, JSON, date time module, you can name all those. You should know before you start using Boto3. Okay. So, sorry, where I was. Okay. So we logged into this AWS console, and after that, I told you guys, once we log into the AWS console, we usually go to any of the services where it can be IAM or it can be your EC2 service. So now we have established a session. We have logged into the AWS console. Now I need to access my service, which can be anything. And the way we can access the service in case of a Boto3 is either by using a resource or by using a client. Okay. Now I just pause for a 30 seconds. I'm just waiting for your guys' opinion, who are using Boto3 so far. What is the difference between a client and a resource to access the service, which is either any of these services, which is present on the AWS console, and which one you guys prefer? So let me repeat the question one more time. So to
Prashant,
access
can
these
we
services,
use SDK for that? SDK or CLI, right? We can use.
yes. So we can use AWS CLI, but let me show you one thing. So here, AWS. This is the AWS CLI. And if you see AWS CLI under the hood, it also uses this protocol. Okay. And if you want to write all those complex logic, and like I say, most of the time Boto3 we use along with the Lambda function. With Lambda, you cannot use the AWS CLI. You must need to use Boto3 or a Python. Does that answer your question? Yes, no. Okay. So I said to access these resources here, you can either use client or resource. Okay. I will pause here for 30 seconds, and I'm just waiting for your guys' opinion, how you are using it, and can anyone tell me what is the difference between a client and a resource while accessing any of the services in case of Boto3?
The resource is AWS resources, right, Prashant? The client is the one we are going to access from, IAM user through those resources.
Actually, no. So the question is, how do you know your session has been established with Python? If you are not going to get any error, if there is any issue here, you will get an error that your session will not be established. Otherwise, if no error means no output means everything is good.
Okay.
Okay. So let me show you what is the difference between a client and resource. And this is one of the most important concepts which we need to understand before going to the in-depth of like all the concepts related to the Boto 3. So we all know in Python we have something called dir. Okay. And dir, I think you guys know, but just to give you a refresher, dir is just your inbuilt function for Python. So depending upon whatever you are trying to use, it gives you the list of your attributes and methods related to the particular object. So for this particular object that I have created, okay, I'm using an object-oriented language, but for this particular object, these are the attributes or method which is available. Okay, so if you look here, there is something called get available resources. So let me copy here and AWS Management Console, get available resources. So, okay, let me first do this. So see, so this first one, let me copy this output, paste here. Okay. So for resource, you on under resource only these services came. So resources only support these services, which is CloudFormation, EC2, IAM, and S3. And honestly, like I'm using Boto 3 from last 4 years, and most of the time I use these services as a DevOps engineer. EC2, S3, and IAM. SNS I use sometimes to send out all the emails. I use sometimes STS, but I can show you where we can use client. And client almost support all the services which are available in AWS. And all these means whatever you are seeing on the AWS console, all these they are supported by client. There is one major difference between a client and a resource is, so for example, I'm going to EC2 and you see that EC2 support bunch of these options. I'm just using a plain English, so I'm not going to a technical definition. So you see that EC2 support all the options, like for example, instance type, which itself is a different subset of functionality provided by EC2. Client support all these functionality. Resource did not support all these functionality. So that is one of the major difference between client and a resource. Third thing is resource is a low level service access, whereas a client is resource is a high level object oriented API, whereas the client is a low level service API. And I'm going to show you with the help of example what is the difference between this high level as well as the low level. Okay. Let me answer one of the questions. What if you already have the AWS condition configured? Do we need to create? No, you don't need to. You can use the existing credentials. Okay. So some of the difference you must need to remember from the interview point of view, or if you are planning to use Boto 3, is that resource only support these many services and client support almost all the services, but using client is somewhat complex as compared to resource, and that I'm going to show you now. Is that part is clear? Can we move further, or do you have any question related to that?
May I ask something about? Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I wonder that is the Boto pretty important for junior DevOps engineer in your view?
Okay. So I didn't get your question. Can you say it again?
Yeah. Again, so I wonder that the Boto usage is important for the interview for junior DevOps engineer.
I cannot comment on that if it's important for junior DevOps engineer, but I think automation is always important in any aspect. So whether you are junior or senior, the thing which we are going to do by the UI it is always important to know how it's work under the hood. So as far as I know, like I picked up Botox very late in like 2016, but I'm seeing the advantage of using it. Okay, does that answer your question?
Okay.
Sorry guys, we are already 8:22, so I need to speed these things up because I need to cover a lot of things. So if you have any question, can you please ask our Slack channel so that we will able to wind up this session in next 1 hour. Okay, so first thing is we have established this session. Now I'm going to show you how to use a client as well as resources to access your services. Okay, so before that, let me clear this. So you can, anyone put yourself on mute? Yeah, thank you. So we have this AWS Management Console session already been established. Now we are going to use let's first start with the resource, which is simpler. And I said it's a high level object. So let's see how it is a high level object. So for establishing that resource session, I'm going to use this variable called, let's say I want to list all my IAM users. So if you look here, go here.
Can you mute?
Yeah, thank you. Let me mute him. So we already have the session established. Let's try to use the resource object now. So to do that, remember that we already have this console established. I'm going to use resource, and in this resource you need to use what is the service you want to use. Okay, so in this case I'm using IAM. In case if you are using EC2, you can specify EC2 here or S3, whatever it is.
Hey Prashant.
So now,
the IAM con is just a variable, right? You're declaring?
Yeah, yes, so you can specify anything, X, Y, Z,
okay.
Whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay. So now we have done the two parts. So in the first part, in that console part, AWS Management Console, we have established the session. We have authenticated to the AWS. And the second part, in this part, IAM console, you can think of it. I clicked on that IAM icon here, and I have reached up to this point, this IAM console. So now my second task is, now I want to list all the users which are present. So once again, I'm going to use dir, and I'm going to do dir of IAM console and see what are the options which are available to me. Okay. And here I will go with something called users. So how I know about this? Like I need to use a user. So to do that, go to Python, Boto 3 documentation, click here and check off that these available services. Okay. In that, search for IAM. Okay. And here you can see that IAM support all these bunch of these options, and one of that is client, which we are going to discuss it after this. And there's something called resources. So for the timing, let's click on the resource. Okay. And you can see that even this resource support bunch of these options. Okay. I usually divide this section, this page into 3 different sections. First one is this part. So for example, the first part, if you want to create something out of this resource. So for example, I want to create a role. I want to create a policy. So for that, this first part is there. The second part is if I want to list out something out of it. So for example, I will give you a simple example. If I want to list out a single user, I can use this second part, the sub resource. The last one is called collection. What collection is means, for example, here I can list a single user, but if I want to list a multiple user, if I want to list a multiple rows, multiple policies, then in that case, I can use the third part. So this URL, this one, this is really, really important for all of you guys. If you want to use the Boto 3, please take a note of this URL. This one. And depending upon whatever the service you want to use, either via client or a resource, just go here and look for all those options that is available. So I will go over all these one by one, but first let me start with the collection. Under collection, I have something called user. So if I click on that user, this user by default accepts like a syntax like this. Don't worry about these options for the time being. So I will show you how this will work. And most of the time I look for the, it's not here, but let me show you how this works. So here I will go for IAM console.users. And if I go here, it supports bunch of these options, which I'm going to discuss this one by one. Let's go with the all. So as we can see, this returns a collection. Okay. Now to iterate over this collection, I can do for, let's say, user in, which is simple for loop syntax, 2, 3, 4, print user. Okay. So it gives me all the users which are present in my console, which you can see it over here, the 3 users. Okay. To filter out this output more, out of this, which is an attribute, I just want to get the name. So here I will get all the names which are present. Okay. And this guy, and once again, let me go dir of this user to see all the attributes and methods. And because I have 3 users, that's why it looped in 3 times. So let me clear this console for you guys. Print dir, and let me break the session here. Okay. So here you can see it supports all the other options, all the other attributes. So let's say last time I got the name, it should be present somewhere. Well, I'm not able to see the name somewhere. Should be here, name. Let's say along with the name, I also want to print, let's say, user ID. Okay. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, print user.name. I'm not formatting the output like username is this, because this is just a demo. So along with the username, now I'm printing the user ID which is associated with it. So in this way, you can use all the other things. For example, if you want to see the policy associated with it, if it's MFA enabled. So I mean, you got the picture, like what exactly we can do with the help of this resource object. Okay. And before we go further, let me show you. Rather than using this all, you can also use something called limit. So for example, you see I've got 3 users. So let's say I only want to print 2 users out of this. And print, let me say I only want to print user.name. So in this way, you can limit the output. If we got time, I can show you one thing which is called paginator, which is really important if you are working for like a organization where you have thousands of users or thousands of S3 buckets. But this is just a gist of how you can use a resource object. Okay. Once again, I will pause for 30 seconds if you guys have any question related to the resource object. No question? Okay. So let me try to show you the same thing with the help of, let's say, I want to list all the S3 buckets. Okay. So the same syntax which we have used, the same thing we can use for S3 bucket also. So once again, I'm going to establish a session. Okay. And resource. And this time, rather than using the IAM, I'm going to put S3 over here. Okay. And this time, let's do some pass forward stuff. Okay. I will see whatever the attributes and method. And here I'm going to go with a bucket. So I will go s3 underscore console dot buckets dot all. Once again, I will get a collection. And let me do this. So with this collection object for bucket in print bucket, I got the bucket name. And to further filter out this output, I get it like this. I think it's pretty straightforward, right? Any questions so far before we move to the client? Nope. Okay. So let's move to the client part. So if you look here, we establish the session to the resource object using something called AWS Management Console, and after that we are specifying the resource over here. Okay. So in case of a client, let me use one more variable. Let me give it a name underscore CLI. You can give it any name. And rather than using a resource over here, you can use client. That's the only difference between using a client and a resource to establish a session. Now, if you look here, you will see all the options which are support. No, sorry, not con, CLI. So as you can see, this client support bunch of options as compared to your resource. And that's what I told you guys earlier. Client support almost all the operations which are supported by AWS, but resource only supports handful of options. So that is one of the major difference between a client and a resource. Okay. Now let's go with recon go CLI dot, I think it's list bucket. List bucket. Yeah. So now one of the major difference between a client and a resource is that in case of a client, you are getting an output in the form of a dictionary, as you can see, right? So now we need to further refine this output based on our requirement. So one way I can do it is like, I can just print it like this, right? So there is no change. Or in case of Python 3, we have something called pprint, which is a pretty print. So now, rather than using this, I can use pretty print, and now I got a much fine-grained output. So here you can see that I have this bucket object, and inside this bucket object, I have this name, which is the name of my S3 bucket. Okay. So let me first do it like this. And here I'm getting bucket. So now inside that particular bucket or inside this particular dictionary, I'm just trying to get this key, which is a bucket. Okay. And now out of this bucket dictionary, bucket key, I'm just trying to get the name. Oh, sorry. So bucket, as you can see that now with this bucket, which is earlier a dictionary, I try to get the key. And now I'm getting a list. So what I can do now for bucket in and for, let me first try to print this bucket. Okay. And out of this bucket, like in the form of a list, I can get the name. So I got the name. So same thing which we have done with the help of S3 resource, the same thing which we can do with the help of a client. But this is little bit much more complicated because this is a low level service, whereas your resource is a high level service option. You guys got the picture, right? Or any confusion related, what is the difference between a client and a resource? Or it all blanked out? Any question related to the resource versus client? Or let me show you client with the help of one more example. Can I show you guys, or you guys are fine with this?
Hey Prashant, do we use resource all the time, or do we use client most of the time? In what scenario we use either of one?
Okay, so that's what I told you guys earlier. So if you go here, and after that I showed you guys something called so if you are dealing with any of these services, you can use client or resource. But let's say if you are dealing with, let's say, code commit, then in case of a code commit, you do not have any option for a resource. So you must need to go with a client. Or something which I use heavily is called STS. So for STS, I must need to go with a client. There is no option. And I will show you one more way. There's something called a meta parameter, where I must need to, means using a resource, I can access the methods or attribute provided by the client. So just give me a few minutes. I'm going to show you how to use that. So it depends if you the service, or it depends what are the functionality you are trying to access. But in client, you will get all the functionality. With resource, you will only get the limited functionality. So okay, so let me show you one more thing. So IAM con, we know. Let me establish one more session, and this time using a client, AWS Management Console. Okay, and client, and this time we are using IAM. So once again, I established a client session with IAM. IAM console underscore CLI. It will give me the list of whatever the attributes or things which are supported by this client. Okay. Let me clear that. Okay. And this client, last time what we did, we list all the users, right? So same thing. Let me do that. And there's something called list users here. So as usual, in case of your client, you're getting once again a dictionary output. So last time, the way we have done it, we have filtered it based on the keys, right? I again filtered with the help of a key, and now again I'm getting an output in the form of a list. So let me iterate over this list for user in print user. Okay. And out of this user, I need to get a username. Let's say I need to get a user ID, and let's get the ARN. So user dot, because this is again, if you look at that inside the list, we have this dictionary. So let me get the username out of it. User dot, let me say user ID. and then user dot ARM. Okay. So as you can see, the same thing which we are doing it with the help of a resource, we can do it with a client. But in client, which I believe is little bit much more complicated, because you're getting an output in the form of a dictionary, and sometimes you get some multi-level of dictionary, like a nested dictionary, a dictionary inside a dictionary. So you need to do a much more parsing as compared to a resource object. Okay, is that part is clear? Can we move further? If you are clear between a difference between a resource and a client.
All good.
Yes.
Okay, so the next concept which I want to discuss, and this is what I found it out while performing a Google search. One of the question which has been asked in the interview: what exactly is a waiter? So let me open this one. Waiters. I will again pause for 30 seconds. If anybody wants to pitch in and tell me like what exactly is a waiters in terms of Boto 3. Okay, no one. So let me go here and show you something. EC2. If you go here, you will see so far we have discussed about the client. I know we haven't discussed about the EC2. So EC2 is one of the services where I wrote most of the Boto 3 script. So far I only showed you with the help of IAM or S3. So let's focus on EC2 now. So EC2, you see that it also has this client as well as the resource object. Let's focus on data. And rather than telling you all these things like theoretically, let me show you with the help of an example. So for that, let me go here. Okay. And first thing I'm going to do is import Boto 3. Okay, which we are doing it so far. The second step which we are doing it is we are establishing a session with the AWS Management Console, which is boto3.session.sessions, right? And we are going the default session. Now, let me establish a resource and EC2. Okay. This is what we have done so far, and after that we try to list the users in a case of IAM or list the S3 bucket, whatever we are doing it so far. Okay. This time, let's go with the EC2. Let me copy this. It's much easier for me to show you guys here. Once again, let me clear this. Okay. Let me save this. And EC2 underscore resource. This guy. So this time I'm going to use something which is called instance, and which is again somewhere here. I think it's capital instance. Well, I think it's much easier for me if I will show you. Okay. So here I'm going to take a variable called instance, okay, and EC2 underscore resource, okay, and after that the attribute name is instance, okay. Let me first type this code, and then I will show you what exactly I'm trying to do. So as you can see, I have two AWS instances which are up and running, out of which one is stopped and one is in start state. So let me copy the one which is in stopped state. So let me copy this guy, the instance ID of this. Okay. And then I can print some of this. It's like print. You can give anything starting EC2 instance. And the thing you need to do is instance dot start to actually start this instance. Okay. And I can, after the instance is started, I can give something like instance started. So let me show you, let me try to explain to you guys what exactly I'm doing it right now. This part you guys are clear, right? We are establishing a console session and we are accessing our EC2 resource. In the next part, I'm trying to instantiate a session with a particular EC2 instance, which is this. And out of this session, let me show you here. Copy. I did this, and let me give you this. And this instance supports various attributes and methods. And out of this, I'm using start. The same way you can use stop. I think it should support somewhere state also. The state. So all these. So let's see one by one. So what exactly I'm trying to do? After establishing this, I'm trying to start a particular EC2 instance. Later on, we will see like how we can start on multiple instances using this. But let's focus on one. And once we have the script ready, let me try to execute it. I will say Python 3. I think I put just the name fresh.py. So I did that. It says starting EC2 instance, which I have put as a print statement, and instance started. Now, the problem with this approach is you see that my instance is in pending state. It is not fully started. But if you look from the script point of view, it is already been started. Okay. You are getting like where I'm getting out of it, like from here. So my script says my instance is started, but if I go back to my AWS console, it is still saying that my instance is in pending state. It is not started up and running fully. But as per my script, it is started fully. So what AWS did, they introduces a concept of something called a waiters. Okay. So if you look at the last line, it says that wait until exists, wait until running, wait until stop, or wait until terminated. So what exactly I need to do here? Just need to copy this wait until running. Let me stop my EC2 instance one more time. Okay. And now I'm going to modify my code. And after the start, I just need to add wait dot wait until running. Okay. So what exactly this guy is going to do? This one. So if I add this wait until running, what exactly it's going to do in the backend? It's going to run a while loop, which after every 5 seconds, it's going to check if the instance is up and running. And that it is going to do for 40 iterations. Like this loop is going to run on 40 loops. This iteration is going to run the 40 loops. So that means 40 into 5, right? Close to your 200 seconds. Okay. So this is going to run in that loop and it will check. And if even in those 40 into 5, like 200 seconds, if your instance does not come up, this script is going to fail. So now after making that change, this instance wait until running, and let me see if the instance is stopped. Let me try to execute the same script again, this guy. So now this script does not come back. This does not come back to a console. It is still waiting for the instance to be up. So this is one thing which I see like most of the programmer did. They wait, their script will only exit it out once the instance is up and running. So you see now the instance is running, so the script exited. Okay, so this is one of the main idea behind waiters, that it will wait until your instance is up and running. Okay, and this is one of the question which I found it out, like it has been asked in most of the companies. What is the use of waiters in case of AWS Cotroller? Any question related to waiters?
Prashant, what if you need like some 20 instances to stop and start? Can we use a for loop or inside?
Yeah, that I'm going to show you. I
Okay.
just want to start first with one instance, and then I will show you like how you can do it with the multiple instances.
Okay, thank you.
Any question related to waiters? Any other question? If not, then I will move to my next question, interview question. What is the use of meta in case of Boto 3? Anyone heard about meta? Which is this guy. And I came to know about this meta only 2 years back when I was working on one of the scripts by one of my colleagues, or I can say ex-colleague, who left the company, and I have given a task to modify that particular script. So honestly, even I have no idea about it, but I came to know but just by looking into that script. Okay. So if it's a radio silence, let me start again. System clear. Okay. So I told you guys that with the help of a resource, you can only access a particular services, and even within that particular service, you can only access certain functionality. So let me show you what that I mean. So we have this resource session, right? And this is specific to, I guess, yeah, this is for resource. Let's say my requirement is that I want to list out all the EC2 regions, or forget about EC2 region. I want to, yeah.
We are seeing the notes. Are you showing anything?
Not notes, but my internet is fine. Are you able to see my console, the command line console now?
No.
No. Can you please just stop and share it once again?
Are you able to see it now?
No, Prashant. Sorry.
It's frozen now.
No. Okay, I guess it is some internet issue. Let me see. 1 second, guys. Yeah, sorry guys, again seems like some internet glitch. Seems to be back. Any luck now? Are you able to see my screen?
No, it's still stuck on that waiter screen.
Yes, the screen is already shared. Okay, any luck now? Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, we are good now.
Okay, hey, sorry about that again. Okay, so where we are? Okay, we are in the meta section. And the thing I was trying to tell you guys, let's say I have a requirement where I want to list out all the regions. AWS infrastructure is spread across multiple regions, and we want to list out all the regions which are like which my service support, or just I have a simple requirement that I need to list out all these regions. So if you look at this EC2 resource, it does not support any object, attribute, or method which support region. So in that case, I do not have any option. Did I use anything related to client? No. So let me create one client. EC2_CLI. Client. And if I do dir, there is something called, I think, describe regions. If we will be able to find it out here. Describe. Somewhere I'm sure something. Okay, let's do it like this. EC2_resource. Describe region. Oh, EC2_CLI. Describe region. Okay. So AWS clients support this functionality for describing the region, but not the AWS clients support this functionality, but not AWS EC2 resource. Okay. But I was telling you guys, I was working on one of the code written by one of my colleagues, and he left the company, and I need to do some modification. And he used resource so much in this code. If I switch to client, then I almost need to rewrite that entire code. So I do not have that. Means honestly, I cannot switch to the client mode. So then I find out this meta resource. So what exactly is this meta resource is all about? Let me show you. So EC2_resource. Okay. And if you tab here, there is something called meta. Now with the help of this meta, I can access the attributes and methods supported by client. So I can go with this region. Once again, you will see that I'm using a resource, but using a meta, I am able to access the methods or the attributes. In this case, this is like a method because this might be some function inside that class described region. And you can see I'm able to access that. So once I will be able to access that, I can write a for loop for region in, right? And I can do region. Print region, right? And I can further refine this output by just accessing min. Okay. So this is one of the way if you have a code which is written in the form of a resource, but you want to access all the attributes and methods which are defined by a client, meta is one of the way you can do. Okay. Any questions related to that? Yes, no. Any question?
Prashant, just hypothetical, if I don't know how to do this, I know it's, but if you want to find out manually, then you have to go and find out the resource in, what we are using in the each region, then put it that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I told you, you need to be get familiar with this AWS documentation, Botox documentation. So I mean, for example, if we go with the EC2, this is one where I wrote most of the code. It's impossible for any human to know all these, right? So it's whenever you're like, it's depending upon your situation. Whenever that particular condition arises, you need to figure it out. Okay, I need to use this method or this attribute to get your resources. So only way is like you will learn all these things based on your experience. As the condition, as the type of a situation comes out, you need to figure it out and then need to use it in your code. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have two more topics left, so let's go over to it. And this is one of the most important things, which is called filters. Okay. So far I have discussed about all. Okay. In all, we are getting all the output. For example, we have checked like with the help of all, we are getting all the S3 bucket or all the IAM users. Then we use something called limit, right? I have put limit equal to 2, and then in that case, I only get only 2 users out of the 3 which is present, or I can put limit equal to 1, so that I will only get the first user. Filter is one of the most important concepts as far as I have used in my Boto code. So what exactly is the filter is? Let me give you a simple example. This guy, let me once again stop this instance. So let's say my requirement is I want to start all these instances every day, let's say at 9 a.m. in the morning. But I'm only going to start the instance which is in the stop state. So if you go with these methods like all or limit, you will get all the instances. You are not filtering it. Okay. So now my requirement is I want to filter these instances based on the state. So if the state equal to stop, then only I'm going to start this instance. Okay. Or let's say one of the most use case which I have used is based on tag. So for example, if the tag is equal to dev, then only I'm going to stop this instance. But if the tag is equal to prod, definitely I'm not going to touch this instance. No. Okay. So that is where the filter comes into picture. Depending upon your, like for example, the state or your tag, I can filter those instances and then my output will only able to get those instances. Okay. So let's see this into like how we are going to use it. And the way the filter works is its syntax is in the form of this. For example, you can give any filter name. So for example, filter name. Then you need to specify a dictionary. And dictionary is in the form of name and values. So here I can specify a name that we are going to see and values is in the form of a list. So here you can specify a multiple values. I can specify multiple values. So let's see this with the help of one example. Okay. So why is it not getting stopped? My internet is again too slow. Okay, let me write a code for this. So here, let me guy. Okay, so let me try to write my first filter. Okay, and I am giving it a name EC2 underscore filter. You can give it any name. And like I told you guys, it is in the form of a dictionary. Okay, so this is, I'm going to give it a name, comma, colon, then comma, value, colon. Yeah. So name, I am going to give it a name called instance state name and value is equal to going to be stop. So where I'm getting these things. So for that, you need to go back here, go back to EC2, go back to resources, now my internet is failing. And search for instance state name. So see, here we have all these filters. So for example, your instance state can be pending, running, shutting down, terminated, stopping, or stop. Okay. So depending upon that, you can filter out your EC2 instance output. So here, what exactly I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to filter out all those instances which are in the stop state. Okay. Now to use this in my code, it is going to be pretty straightforward. So what exactly I'm going to do, the same thing which we are doing it earlier. For instance, in EC2 underscore dot resource, okay, dot instances, and this time rather than using all or limit, I'm going to use something called filter. Okay, and after that I am going to give it a filter name. The syntax is like this: filter equal to, okay, and then this, and I just need to specify my filter. And here I'm going to give that instance, and let me print only the instance ID. Okay, before I execute this code, any question related to a filter? How I am using it? I guess it's pretty straightforward. Like depending upon your requirements, you can filter your output. The same way, I think there's something where you can see the state or where the instance status code. Depending upon your code, you can filter out your output. Okay. And the most important is the tag which I'm going to show you. Hopefully, this instance will be in the stop. Let me stop it. No time. Okay, now it's stopping. So if I try to execute this script, hopefully, okay. Oh, this is going to values, not value. Let me see if the instance is stopped. Still stopping. Try. Okay, because it is not matching any of the filter, this will go to the stop state. So now it is stopped. You will see D35B. So you are going to get a D35B. If I change this filter to something called running, right? So I will get this one, 43CC. 43CC. So this kind of a script is really helpful if you want to filter out the output depending upon the status of your instance. And let me ping you guys something which is important, like for example the tag in the Slack channel. How you can filter out the output based on the tag name. 1 second. Filter. Yeah. Same way you can do it for EBS volumes. Let me ping you this. I'm pinging you guys on the Slack channel. So you can write the EBS filter. Yeah, I'm
Prashant,
pinging you guys on Slack. Yeah.
say if you want to start an instance like at 9 in the morning and shut down at 5 in the evening, right? So how can you do it through both?
Yeah, that's the next topic.
Okay.
But you guys are clear with this, right? How to use filters.
Yes, yes.
Show you one with the help of So let me give you one more example, and then I will go with that last example which I want to show you guys. And same way you can create it for tag, but for tag you need to use something. For example, I'm creating a tag filter for tag called f tag. Here in the name you need to specify name. You will start with a tag colon whatever be the name of your tag, which I mean here. What do you mean by that? So for example, if I'm going to create a tag, and let me create environment equal to prod. Okay. Hopefully this will save.
We cannot see a
And
screen. The screen is frozen.
okay, so let me post this in the Slack channel. So, so let's say you have like a tag as an environment. You're getting that Slack message, right? Are you guys getting the Slack message?
Yes, yes.
So in case if you have a tag of environment, in the tag field you need to specify name dot tag colon environment and value equal to means whatever with the value you have assigned to. So with tag you need to specify the syntax like this: name and then tag whatever be the value, for example the environment in this case, and then value equal to whatever the value assigned to, which in this case might be a prod. Well, let me correct this output so that it will be clear to you. It's a prod, and because this value is a list, so you can specify the multiple values over here. So let's say I want to filter both in terms of prod as well as dev. So I can specify multiple values in the output. I can specify prod, comma, dev. Okay. So hopefully the internet will be back at this point. Are you guys able to see my screen or where it is right now?
Yeah, it's frozen.
Again, frozen. How about now? Is it visible?
No.
No.
I don't know if it's an issue with the GoTo app or something, because all the rest of the applications they are working fine. I'm able to browse everything, but except this GoTo meeting. Or maybe this requires some more bandwidth as compared to these applications. How about now? Are you able to see?
Now we can see. Yes.
Sorry guys, this is the last one, so let's quickly wrap it out. Okay. So in the last part of this, like the question you guys are mostly asking, how we are going to start the instance on a nightly basis or a daily basis or a weekly basis or every day at 7 a.m. or all these things. That is the first script that I have wrote. And let me show you here. So that is mostly I have done with the help of a Lambda, but focus for today is Boto 3. So that's why I just want to show you with the help of Boto 3 first. Okay. So to doing that, what exactly we need? We are going to follow the same thing, whatever we are following it so far. And first, let's write a bare bones script and let's get the requirement clear. So, like I told you guys before I was start working on any of the project, I must need to have the requirement clear, what exactly we are trying to do, or what exactly we are trying to achieve. So our aim is to stop or start all the instances, right? Now think about the requirement. These instances can be on any region. So for example, in your organization, if you haven't like restricted your developer to a particular region, like let's say Oregon or Virginia or anywhere like Mumbai, they can create their instances in any region. So my first requirement is I need to iterate through all the regions, right? I need to get the list of all these regions. Second thing is, if the instances is present in different regions, I need to get the list of instances, right, in those regions. Third is, there might be a possibility that the user or the role or the access keys, it must have the permission to start the instances. Can you guys think of any other requirement which we need to put it over here? I will again wait for 10 seconds to your answer. So right now, we are just trying to see what are the requirements which we need to fulfill. Any other thing which you need to take into consideration?
We need the tags.
Yes, if exactly. Tags or filters. Good. Any other thing which we are missing? There's no right or wrong answer. We are just trying to get all the requirements clear before we start writing our code.
Do we need waiters here?
Exactly. So if you want, we can add waiters here also. Good. Anything else? Okay, I think we are good at this point. Let's first start writing the code. And at first place, let's say I don't know anything about Boto 3. I first start with a bare bone code, which is a bad representation of this code, and then we will try to improve this code. Okay. So let's say I'm new to the Boto 3. I have no idea how to automate it. So I first start hard coding all these values. So let's say I really don't worry about all the regions. I think I'm a new developer and I said that all of my resources only exist in Oregon. So let's say I hard code this value, region. Okay. Same way, I have no idea how to loop it out and get the value of instances. So I hard code these values. Once again, guys, I'm just writing the bare bone code first, and then we will try to improve this code. So I hard code this value. I have no idea what exactly the filter is. So I really don't care if the instance is in a stop state or in a start state. Okay. So at least I have these two requirements got cleared out of the way. And even this one, because I really don't know what is filter is, what is waiter is. And right now at this stage, I'm assuming that the user that I'm trying to use already have the permission, or let's say I have no idea that the user has the permission. I am just going to do a hit and trial run, and we'll see that if the user has the permission. Okay. So I hard code this value. I will try to establish a session. Go to 3.session. So far, I think you guys know what exactly is all these values are. I started the default session, right? And let's say, okay, we can use client or a resource. It doesn't matter. Let me start with a client. AWS Management Console. Okay. Dot client. I'm specifying EC2. One thing which I haven't shown you so far, that so far whatever the session we have established by taking a default region. And the way the AWS is picking the default region for me is configure is whatever the region we have specified in this region field. So it is picking up US West 2. But even while establishing a client or a resource session, you can give a region here. So what exactly I mean by that? Here we have US West 2, so it doesn't matter. But let's say the default region which I specified US West 2, but here I want to specify US East 2. So that I can pass it to my client or to my resource at this stage. Okay. So I want to show you guys this. So far I have done that. Then I will say print just for the readability stopping EC2 instance. Okay. And EC2 dot client dot, just for the sake of time, is support a method called EC2 stop instances. Inside that I can specify instance IDs is equal to instances. So one of the features which is supported by clients is that we can specify a multiple EC2 instances which can be specified in the form of a list. Once again, I'm showing you the bad way of doing that. We are going to improve this code once we test this code. Okay, and I can say all EC2 instance started. Oh, stopped. Sorry, stopped. And if I want, I can. So this is going to be okay. And let me correct this. These are instances, so let me put that instances. Okay. So I know this is a badly written code, but I just want to show you guys that this is doable. I hardcode the value of region here. I hardcode the value of all the instances. This is clear for you guys, like we established a session. This is something new for you guys. If you do not know so far that we can specify a region name. This is just a print statement. And using a client, I can even use a resource also. And here I can specify a multiple instances. Somebody asked me this question, like how can we specify a multiple instances? So using a client, you can specify it that I need to use a method called stop instances. And in that, I can specify a multiple instance like this. And print all EC2 instances. I'm just printing out this. And just to be clear, I'm not following, means somehow I am matching all these requirements, but I'm not following a best practice because I'm not filtering it with the help of, for example, if you go here, one instance is already in a stop state, but my script is not testing that one. Irrespective of it is stopped or start, I'm stopping all the instances. Okay, and I'm just printing it. Before I will execute the script, any question? And just to be clear, we are going to improve the script in the next part, just after once I execute the script. But before that, any question related to the script?
So Prashant, this concept we can also use like if we have hundreds of instances or like more than 10 instances running, and those are like running idle. There is nothing, none of the applications are currently required to run. So we can use the same concept here, just instead of going manually stopping the instances.
Yes, correct. Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So let me execute the script. And you see that it stopped all the instances irrespective it is in a stop state or in the running state. Let me refresh it, and now it is stopping that. And just to be clear, guys, like one of you have pointed out, we can use our waiters, and we haven't used anything over here, right? We just bare bone use this concept. So now, as both of my instances are in the stop state, or at least it is going to be in the stop state, or now it's stopped. Let's try to improve this script. Okay. So let me take out all these. And we might not be able to hit all the requirements, but at least I will show you how I will try to write the script. So, okay. Let me remove this part because these are hard code values, so I don't like these hard code values. Okay. This anyway, we need to establish the session. Okay, and after that, we must need to have the client. So let me not remove this part. Right. Let's reuse some of this code. So first thing, if you remember, we hard code the value of the region. So rather than hard coding these value, okay, if you remember that here we get all the list of regions. Right? Let me copy this code. We get a list of all the regions here, right? Or region in EC2 resource or client, whatever we are going to use, we will get a list of regions, but here we use the meta. So let's not use meta because meta is a special case. So here for region in.
Prashant, the screen is frozen. I think we're not seeing it.
Oh man, just a bad day. Okay, while this is coming, at least I will show you this code in Slack channel, which is working so far.
Now we can see.
Now you can see. Okay, so rather than using the resource object, let me write this code. So what exactly we need to do? Let me say for region in EC2 underscore client dot describe region, describe regions. The same thing which we have done here. Here, describe regions, and in that describe region, we try to get this key, right? We try to get this key. Now, instead of printing that output, let me take an empty list, okay, and try to append the value of these regions into this list. And the way we can do it, so somebody asked me, do we need to know Python for that? Yes, you need to know Python if you want. Like these are all basic Python stuff, right? So you must need to know Python, like how to append into a list and everything. So now what exactly I have done? So for region in this describe region, rather than printing out this, I appended all these regions into this empty. So let me try to print this list now. Here, EC2 client region is not defined. So let's see where it is. EC2 underscore client dot describe regions.
I think line number 16, region name equal to region.
Oh yes. Use this because we are not hard coding this value anymore. Yeah, thank you guys. Okay, so now I have a list where I have all these regions. Okay, so what exactly I need to do? Let me move the print output now. Let me make this bigger. So now I got the list of all the regions. Okay, now depending upon this region, I need to iterate and to get the list of my EC2 instances. Okay, so for region, in this region underscore name, right? The list which I have defined it over here, I can specify one more EC2, okay, and this time let me start with the rather than using, okay, let me go with the resource, and it's completely up to you if you want to go with the client or a resource, but describe region is only available for client. That's why I was going with the client here. But here I just need to stop and start the instances. So I can use either the client or a resource. But as you can see so far that the client is the resource is much easier to deal with. So that's why I'm going with the resource option. EC2, and here you can specify region name is equal to whatever which is coming from a region. So let me first write this and show you. So what exactly we are trying to do it over here is we are trying to iterate this list, and then we are trying to find out all the EC2 instances which are present in different regions. Okay, because like I told you guys earlier, the requirement might be that if your company are not restricting your developers to a single region, they might have EC2 instances in different regions. Okay. Now the third requirement is I need to create a filter. So let me give it a name, EC2 underscore filter. Okay. And equal to, again the same syntax, name, colon, and once again is instance state name, okay, comma, values is equal to in the form of a list. And this time, because all of my instances are in a stop state, I'm going with a stop. Okay. Now to iterate over this list, I can do instance is equal to EC2 dot instances. So last time we see that in a case of a client, we have something called stop instances to stop of multiple instances. Same way we can do in a case of a resource where we have the method called instances, not instances, multiple instances. So what exactly we are trying to do is EC2 dot instances, okay, dot filter, and then I can apply a filter, which is F1. It is F1. EC2 underscore filter. Okay. So now I'm only grabbing the instances which are in a stop state by applying this filter. Once I have this filter, right, I can quickly go over, or let me give it a name just to avoid instances. For instance, in instances, I only need to do what? Instance dot start. So this will go iterate over the list one by one. And I can go starting. And EC2 instances, and I can give instance dot ID to get a list of those IDs. So let me first execute the script, and then I will go it one by one. And one thing which is missing over here, I'm not specifying any waiter, so that you can add it to the script. So you see that now both of these instances are in a pending state, and it started both the EC2 instances. So let me go over this script one more time. So this part is already clear, right? I just put a region name as a list, and we have appended all the region to this empty list. I quickly iterate over all these regions and try to find it out what are the EC2 instances which are present in each and every region. Then we create a filter where we only grabbing the values of the stop instances. Okay. Then we filter those instances based on that stop state. And finally, we go over it and try to start, or we started all those instances one by one. If that part is clear, then I will answer the question like how we can automate it to start it at a particular time or to stop it at a particular time. We are already 7 minutes over, so any question related to the script before I jump into that part?
So I have a quick question. Like different regions will be having different time zones. So how we will be handling that scenario here?
So that I am going to show you. That's the next part which I want to show you.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
Any sure. Any other question related to this script before I go to that part? Okay. So the next part is how we can automate this entire process. Okay. So because we created this script which is going to start all these instances based on this filter. So I can tell you how I am using it in my environment. So basically this is one of the first scripts that I have wrote. And in that case, in case of, let me get this cleared. This is only in the case of a dev or test environment. I got this requirement where I need to stop all the instances at 6 p.m. and bring up back those instances at 9 p.m. every day. And just to be clear, in my case, the requirement was simple. It's like 6 p.m. PST, I need to stop all these instances. And then I need to bring up these instances every day back at 9 a.m. only Monday to Friday. Okay. And I do not need to start those instances on Saturday, Sunday. And they have some kind of a change list management kind of a process where if any developer wants an exception, we need to exclude his instances. So that we are doing with the help of a tag. So that the filter which we are writing is a little bit complex in that case, where we are excluding those instances where that tag is involved. So let me go to the real part of this. So how we are doing it, we are basically copying this whole code into a Lambda. So you can write your own Lambda function. Let's say my test Lambda Python 3.7. That's the tricky part which we have discussed as one of our requirements, that this user must have a permission to start the instances. Okay, so we need to create a role because Lambda does not understand this access keys or secret access keys. So we need to create a role, or we can use the existing role, which I don't think so have a permission to start the instances. So let's create a new role. I'm not going to show you like how to create these roles because this is related to the Botox session. And while this is loading, okay, actually this is loaded. The same thing which we have wrote here, the same code you can copy paste here. This code. Okay, this guy. You just need to fix those indentation error. Okay, and this will work. Now the next question is how we can execute this code on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever be a requirement. For that, what I was doing, go to the CloudWatch, and CloudWatch has something called rules. Here are rules. Okay, I can create a rule which is based on either the event pattern. With event pattern, I mean it's based on the services. Okay, or I can give a schedule. A schedule is a kind of a cron expression. If you do not understand the cron expression, go here, click here, and you will see like how to write a cron expression. So now to answer your question, all these, for example, in this case, what exactly it is going to do? It's going to execute the script which we are going to provide here in the target, let's say a Lambda function, and it's going to execute the script every 5 minutes, or we can specify our own custom Lambda expression where we can say, okay, every day, let's say at 12 a.m. okay, or 12 I think, or 1 a.m. execute this script. Okay, so we can write our own custom expression to define based on our requirement at what time we want to stop, or let's say every day at 18 we need to stop these instances, and then we can pass our lambda function. Remember, all these expression or the event is in the form of a UTC time zone. So you need to do all those conversion based on the requirement. Now coming back to your question, if we have a different time zone, then in that case you need to write your lambda function for each and every time zone. So in that case you need to hard code those values, which I know it's a bad way of doing it. Like if you remember earlier, we have hard code the value of region is equal to some particular region, US West 2. That you can do that and pass to your function. As if you come with a common time zone which works for all your regions, then you can specify it over here. And you can just pass your lambda function. So here in this case, you need to write two lambda functions, one for starting your instance and the same lambda.
Your screen is frozen, I think.
Okay, so what I was telling you guys, like the way we have started these instances, I'm pasting that in the Slack channel. The only thing you need to do is instance.stop. Okay, and that is how your lambda will work.
So we'll have two separate lambdas for start and stop, right? Like one for each.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So this is how we do in a production environment, right? Depending.
Once again, I have never tried this script in production environment. We always did it on a dev environment or test environment where we want to
not
take
in
a
production. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So Prashant, one more question about the time zone. So is it possible if we can trigger via a flag, like defining a flag or defining a properties file, and in that, like we should have bunch of all the as per time zone, we should have values, and then it should trigger one by one, verify that okay, is there any instance which just stopped based on the region, and then it should handle it by the script instead of like going and hard coding it.
Okay, honestly, that will be a good idea, and I have never tried it. But
Okay.
are you guys able to see my screen back, or it's still frozen?
No, I'm not able to see.
Yeah, still frozen.
Okay, so let me ping you. If you can go to your Lambda console, and I'm pasting this on the Slack channel. So to answer your question, handler. Okay, so if you can see the first function which we are passing to, or the first parameter which we are passing to a lambda, which is called, sorry, it's not even, it's called event. Let me correct this one. Okay, so this is the event, and this event can be anything. So with anything, I mean it can be your CloudWatch, it can be your SNS topic. So again, to answer your question, yes, you can define it, the event. So for example, I can define a lambda function where, let's say, my CPU utilization goes more than 80%, and the moment it goes more than 80%, that event will trigger my lambda function. Okay, so honestly, I never tried that, like passing a value, and based on that value, my lambda function will be triggered. But that might be a good exercise to do that. But based on the event, you can trigger your lambda function, and lambda supports are almost, like, I know there are a bunch of events it is support. So I know you guys are still not able to see my screen, or are you guys able to see my screen now?
No, not yet, Prashant. No, still on the CloudWatch.
Still no. I can ping you guys. Lambda support bunch of these event handlers through which you can trigger your code from API gateway. Like most of the cases I know that most of the startups which are running, they are using API gateway in combination of Lambda, where they are routing a request based on the API gateway endpoint, and in the backend they are using a Lambda as a code. Any other question related to this topic?
So Prashant, these are the most use cases we use Boto 3, right? For in AWS, like for automating tasks. Okay.
Yes, for automating tasks, yes. So like I give you example, like most of the time when I have used this Boto 3 is like one of the use case I already showed you, like starting instances, cleaning up AMI on the regular basis. For example, if the AMI is more than 90 days, just deregister that AMI. Other cases that I have used is like, for example, your access keys, if it's more than 90 days or 180 days based on your security requirement, just rotate those keys after 90 days. Earlier I was using it to take a snapshot, but now, like I told you guys, AWS provides a snapshot service. So those are some of the use cases that I'm using Boto 3, but it's mostly used with Boto 3 in the combination of Lambda.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot.
Any other question, guys? If not, then thank you so much, guys, once again for joining this session. I know there are a lot of internet glitches, but thank you for bearing those, and have a nice rest of the weekend. Stay safe. Bye.
Thanks, Prashant.
Thank you, Prashant.
Bye.